I got a phone call. Your application was not, but you're not getting the position. And actually, I knew it in the phone call or right after the phone call. Okay, that's a sign. That's
Right.
a sign for me to do something else. And let's try to calculate how much does a hall cost? How much can we let the people pay for? How many people come? Let's just calculate it roughly while you're sitting in a restaurant, and let's see what comes out. And
Uh-huh.
then you do the first calculation, and it looks unbelievable. We have now the keys. Everything seems to be in plan.
My guest today is Jan Behrens. Until recently, Jan was building a promising corporate career at Mercedes-Benz, where he went through the company's highly selective management trainee program and had a clear path ahead of him. But at the end of 2025, he made a decision that many people only think about. He walked away from that career to start his own business. Today, Jan is building Padel Dudes, a new padel brand in Germany, and he's currently working on opening the company's first court. In this conversation, we'll talk about the decision to leave corporate life behind. What's it really like to go from a large organization to building a company from scratch, the challenges that he's facing today, and what he's learned so far from becoming an entrepreneur. So here's my conversation with Jan Behrens. Jan, welcome to the show. Before we talk about entrepreneurship, I think it's important to understand like what you walked away from, the thing that you were doing first before this. You weren't in like a dead-end job that you were looking for an escape. You were part of the Mercedes-Benz management trainee program and building like what many people would probably consider a very successful career, very attractive career for many people. And I was wondering like what originally attracted you to Mercedes and what path did you see yourself on at that point when you're still in there?
So yeah, maybe firstly, I could definitely say that probably 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and probably even 1 year ago, I could not imagine that we are talking today and I'm in a completely new role. I'm not at Mercedes anymore. And yes, of course, I've never expected that I did this like a tremendous change in my career at this point of my life, maybe some years later, but not at this point of my life. Actually coming back to your question, it was like probably a lot of for a lot of people in my age at this time, a big dream starting a career, especially when you're from Germany, in a big car company. So for me, it was after my studies, I studied industrial engineering. It was, of course, my goal to either go to BMW or to Mercedes-Benz and try to have the opportunity to get in this fantastic company. This was like 15 years ago, I would say. Maybe some things have changed during this time, but like 15 years ago, I can be very honest. It would be and it was definitely a big dream to go to Mercedes, and I put a lot of effort in it with the studies, with going abroad, with trying to do good internships, and at a certain time to have the chance, because even at this time it was not that everyone who says I'd like to work for Mercedes gets directly hired. It was a big challenge to get in, a big competition, a lot of well-educated students which
Right.
strive for this career. So actually I was doing a lot of probably good job, but on the other hand, be of course very lucky. You always have to be lucky somehow if you go on a path you're striving for, and at the end, for example, get a position. And yeah, at this certain point or at this certain time, I got the chance. I got invited to a very special day where a lot of people who wanted to apply for this job all came together, and at the end I got a phone call and they told me, Jan, you're in. And at this point of time, it was now like I would say 10 years ago, to 16 to 17, I was pretty overwhelmed, and I thought, okay, wow, that's probably one of the best days in my life. And now the career can start. Yeah, I started as a I would say international management trainee, something like this. After your master studios, you also had to have some experience abroad, and then you go to the program and go to the company, and then I hope for the best, to be honest, how this developed. But of course, at this point, I was very, very happy being part of this company. But as I said before, it's 10 years ago. Some things develop very fast in the whole world and in different industries, and also personally.
Uh-huh.
But yeah. That was like my start at Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, that must have been a very energetic part of your career also, starting that and feeling all the other young ambitious people around you that were probably
Totally,
part of
totally.
the traineeship program.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Really cool. Yeah, and you were already sort of setting the stage for my next question, which would be more about the transition that you made around half a year ago, and the idea of starting your own business appeared. A lot of people that become entrepreneurs, they do it because they're stuck in a position that they dislike. But that wasn't really your situation. You were actually building a very promising career at Mercedes, as you just already described, with a very clear path ahead, and you were already hinting towards like changes in the world. But like, what made you make that decision and decide that the future at Mercedes was not what you wanted?
I think the decision of being an entrepreneur is not a decision you go from one day to another. It's probably a big process or process over years, and probably a time of a big part of the time where you think maybe from time to time, how would it be being an entrepreneur? And then you think about, are there some ideas? Is there any possibilities to maybe do this and develop it? And probably, I think most of people I know from time to time think about such things. But probably, and it was also for me over the last 10 years, I definitely had the one or the other idea. You come to a conclusion, maybe it's not the right time, maybe it's too unsure, maybe I stay in my path, I know I'm successful, and try to develop here in everything which I know, which is familiar to me. So probably this is, I would say, the most time of thinking on your way to an entrepreneur. And then, of course, you maybe start more intense of such things. Maybe at the meantime, in your current path, some things develop or do not develop maybe as you might expect to develop. Maybe some things then come more or less together. Your thoughts about maybe doing something on your own or doing something new gets stronger and stronger. And on the other hand, the thoughts, okay, is this still the path? I'm happy maybe this year, maybe the next year, maybe in 3 years, but maybe not in 5 or 10 years, are getting maybe stronger as well. And then, for example, you need to have like an initial either idea or initial conversation with somebody you trust. And in this case, it was for me the combination of the things I've explained before. Yeah, the inner thoughts. Okay, maybe there is something new, something bigger in my next 20, 30 years when I want to work. And on the other hand, am I still happy in my current situation, even though everything worked out well? So it's not the case that you have to be definitely unhappy. You can still be happy with it, but you have to think about maybe a little bit more into the future.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, and this was the same in my case. I had it was not planned. I had a very good conversation, summer talk last year with a very good friend of me, who said, okay, Jan, maybe I have a good idea. Maybe I have a crazy idea. Maybe I have a good idea. I don't know. But let's just talk about it and let's see if it might be a deal. And this was how it developed. The one things you maybe are open to change in my life, and I was abroad in my life. I changed my hometown from one to the other day. So I'm more or less eager to be curious to see if there's something else in the world, in the company world, in the private world, and so on. And if you have this curiosity and maybe then thinking about a good idea, then you still have to do a lot of research. You still have to think about very intense. But then from week to week, the thoughts got stronger and stronger, and this is how it ended. Now I'm here, as I said before, sitting
Right.
with you, not being employed at Mercedes-Benz anymore, and at least currently, I'm very happy with it.
Yes. So you describe it as quite a sort of a linear process, or at least like a gradual process where at some point you had to talk with your
It's a
friend
process.
that sort of accelerated that process. But was there like a moment that you can remember where you finally decided, like, hey, I'm actually going to do this? There's like
Yeah,
no more doubts?
to be honest, there was a moment not directly linked with the business, but there was a moment in my career where I thought, okay, if this doesn't work out, gave me and the company like 1, 2 last chances being promoted, yeah, I would say it like this. Okay, sometimes you have to say, to be honest with you, if you're
Yeah.
not getting promoted at a certain time, maybe you do something else. It's okay. Maybe it's not the company's fault. It's not your fault. Sometimes
Yeah.
maybe the match is not perfect enough, especially in a industry like automotive, which is currently highly under pressure. This doesn't make it easier for the whole environment there. So actually, with this entrepreneur idea in the background, and with then saying, okay, I give it the one or the two next chances, and if it doesn't work out like I'm expected to work out, then I'm doing a change. And I'm pretty strict with things I'm planning, or I'm pretty clear with thoughts I'm having. And in this case, it was really like I got a phone call. Your application was not, but you're not getting the position. And actually, I knew it in the phone call, or right after the phone call. Okay, that's a sign. That's
Right.
a sign for me to do something else with this very good idea in the back of my head. And let's give it a try, and be brave, be curious, and try to do the best out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that sounds like a very recognizable situation for some people, that you have multiple options and then you feel life is sort of flowing into a certain direction for you.
Yeah, I think sometimes you have to take decisions. Sometimes your life directs you into a certain direction. Yeah, sometimes you don't have a chance to do something different, but sometimes you have to take decisions. So let's be honest, and you never know if that's
Yeah.
a good decision. You will never know the other path you were not walking.
Right. What were the biggest doubts for you before you handed in your resignation, before you made like the final decision, let's say?
The biggest downs,
Doubts. Yeah.
the biggest doubts. Of course, it's a risk. You're still at a very, very good company. You have your fixed salary. You have a very good salary. You would definitely have opportunities to get promoted within the next years. You know your colleagues. You know your job. You are probably not waking up and think about how will I manage to survive the day. You know how everything works. And to say I'm trying something where all the things I said are not like this, are totally different. You maybe have to struggle how I'm going to solve the today's problems. Am I going to solve it? I don't have a fixed salary. I'm not sure how this will develop. I'm not sure if the whole idea will develop. So you really change high certainty against uncertainty,
Yeah.
combined with fixed salary, because we all need to have some money to
Of course.
live
Yeah.
and
You're a family man now.
to survive. That's also a big argument. So this is where, of course, the biggest doubts, and of course, in terms of the certain business, will this work out? Because you can plan beforehand as much as you want. You can do so much Excel sheets with business cases. They all look good. Of course, they look good. You
Yeah.
can do different numbers in it, and that directly you're a millionaire if you want to in your business
Yeah.
case. Yeah. But this is not reality. And your doubts are, of course, will this work out? Um, as you maybe hope to work out. And of course, I still do not know. It's still
Yeah.
uncertainty, but this also makes it a little bit fun, to be honest, and just see, and yeah, have it as a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's make a little bit of a jump from looking back at the decision-making process before you made this jump over to entrepreneurship, and sort of the current state where you guys are building your first court. I mean, you've been working on the building on the company for like half a year now, a couple of months, and I'm really curious, like what sort of so far the reality has been for you. At Mercedes, you were part of a a very large organization, of course, with established processes, other specialists that you could call up to, resources around you. And now you're building a business where literally every problem ultimately lands on your desk.
Yeah,
I'm curious, like, what's been harder for you than you expected?
maybe to frame it firstly a little bit, we started like building our company, I would say 4, 5, 6 months ago. We are officially founded just 1 month. So we
All
are
right.
like a very, very small baby. We are just 1 month old. But of
Yeah.
course, everything which led to this end of this process started some month before. And as you said, of course, you're doing a job as a big company. You're responsible for some certain parts of the whole organization, and a lot of problems you can just back and think, okay, it's not my problem, that's the problem of the controlling guy. I'm not a buyer, I'm not a developer, I do not have to solve it, I do not have to solve the problem to find a solution, to explain the management that I do not have a solution, and so on. You're an expert on a very certain and small field. Yeah, even if you're like a generalist, where I coming from my industrial management studies, but you're a little part of something very big. And then exactly like you said, we are currently we're going to hire, we're going to have some staff, but within the whole process and of course everything which is more like strategic and doing like the core business, we are two. So we can then only decide, will it be me who's going to try to solve this problem, or will it be my friend and my partner? And you cannot hide. You cannot hide, and which is also very important. Of course, I was linked into marketing, and I would say in terms of product management and marketing, I have a big experience and I've seen a lot. But then you start to talk about tech things. You're building like a facility. You have to work with authorities. You have to think about what kind of things you're going to buy. There are a lot of new fields you know from your former position, but somebody else was doing it. And now you have to do it. And of course, this is a challenge by itself, because you still learn every day new things. And like in 90% of the cases, you're confronted with probably never knew that this problem exists until you heard about it the first time. And then you try to find some solutions and try to Google everything you can. Use a lot of AI to find the maybe the right path, and that's a big change to the last position and to the last job, but also like a very deep learning curve, to be honest.
I can imagine. Yeah, that must have felt like jumping into the deep. With that learning curve, were there things that you like skills that you took from your Mercedes experience? Obviously, you have some awareness of what you're good at and what
Absolutely.
skills you have built. Like, are there any skills that turned out surprisingly useful that you maybe didn't expect? And maybe the other way around, were there things that you thought would be very useful and they turned out not to matter very much?
So your first question, absolutely. Sometimes you forget how much you learn when you do jobs for years,
Yes.
because you're not thinking about what you've learned with this time. You just experience after maybe you do something else. Okay, maybe I think I got a lot of skills and I didn't really notice it before. Everything which comes in terms of project management, for example. When you start, you're doing your own business, or actually I was doing it a little bit. Okay, we're doing our business. We don't do it like that over-engineered project thing. And so because we are just two people and we just start and hands-on mentality. And then you see, okay, we have like 50, 60, 70, 80 to-dos, which we need to have done at a certain point of time. And then you realize you're doing again project management. You realize, okay, I'm back as a project manager, not in the whole company, not in a very little certain part of the company, but for your own company. You're doing project management. You're doing to-do lists. You're doing like project plans, because you realize if you're not doing this properly, it won't work out that well. And this are definitely skills you learn in a big company, but as you can imagine, coordinate thousands of people with big processes to be ready at a certain point of time. Project management everywhere you look in this company is like project management times 10. And then you cannot avoid to learn. You have to learn how to properly be a good project manager. And this was what I was at Mercedes-Benz, mostly in different positions. And I think this is a lot I took over from these experiences and in my new role. And I have big advantages. Very honest, I'm happy that I've made all these experiences. They helped me out a lot. And your other question, maybe I can answer this in some month at this certain point. I don't know, which is something I would say this was unnecessary.
Right.
The foundation I got from Mercedes is very good. Yeah, you learn a lot.
Yeah. It's really cool. And It's interesting, how sometimes something that is in one environment, just like a basic skill or like part of the day to day, in another environment, it's like a superpower if you've been thrown
Could
in
be.
a
Yeah.
totally different environment. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. Yeah, let's talk a bit about Padel Dudes. I'm curious, you were describing earlier how you sat down with your friend and he started to mention the idea to you. What were the business economics or the market dynamics that really compelled him, and then how he convinced you that this was a good idea, and why did you decide that this was a market worth building a business around?
I would say to convince me, it took like 1 minute that it is a that it is a good idea. Yeah, let's say it like this.
Right.
He came back from a holiday in Sweden, and you have to say Sweden is in Sweden the whole environment of padel is like totally full or over full, something like this. Or they
Really?
are currently, or they challenged some problems some years ago where they have like just too many. But he came back from this, and this is one risk of the whole idea, of course, yeah, that you have too much competition, like
Yeah. Yeah.
when you're
Yeah.
doing businesses in general.
Red
Back
Ocean.
from a sorry, say again? Exactly. But he came back from this holiday, and he just said, okay, there are padel courts, padel halls, and let's just calculate. Yeah, let's try to calculate how much does a hall cost, how much can we let the people pay for, how many people come. Let's just calculate it roughly while you're sitting in a restaurant, and let's see what comes out. And
Mhm.
then you do the first calculation, and it looks unbelievable. The first calculation is okay. That's a very good business. Of course, it turned out. It turned
I
out.
know those. Yes.
It turned out at the end that it's like always when you start to think about and learn about it more and more, it's getting the big eyes getting a little bit smaller, to be honest.
Right.
But at this point, I was totally in, because I thought what is a good business idea is still a good business idea if you think about it more in detail. Yes, there's a good business idea. And then we did a lot of research, of course, afterwards, and see how the market situation is in Germany compared to Sweden, compared to Spain, and see if there are still changes. And then we came pretty fast to the conclusion that we have a big buffer. You have a big buffer until you get to the point you do not want to get to the point, or maybe the market comes to a point and you're already like 5 years in. Then
Eh.
it's maybe okay, but not at the end, not beginning. And this is how it is developed. But he convinced me after is let's just calculate for a second. He convinced me very fast to think about it in detail. Very, very fast. The whole night. I was thinking the whole night, okay, that really like this, try to calculate everything. And this was
Awesome.
like the start of the process.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And you were talking about the German market relative to other European markets. It's very far ahead, of course, but like, how big is the German market? Is it something that you guys, for the foreseeable future, like that's what you'll focus on, or do you already have like very international ambitions in that sense?
Good question. I would be glad to answer it to you with a clear yes or no. I cannot tell. Currently, we are really focusing on the German market, because I
Mm.
think it's very important. If you start a business like this, you firstly have to start with the first facility. Yeah, that's a
Yes.
first step. If you're successful with it and you see your concept you have works, you can think about next facilities. You can think about maybe other current situation. We have this in our back of our mind, but we are not planning directly into this direction at this certain point.
Gotcha. Yeah. Because yeah, like you said, currently you're working towards your first court. What would be, besides opening the first court, but after that, what would be the next big milestone on the way for you to feel, hey, we're moving in the right direction?
You mean after we
After
open
you
the
open the first court,
after
would
we
it be just
already
the second one, or like?
some things ahead, yeah. Um, no, as I said before, we want to feel and experience that everything we are planning now very intense and very properly will work out, and that we are as successful as we are hope to be, and as we plan to be. But
Mhm.
of course, at the meantime, we're already looking for new feasible objects, new feasible locations to expand our business within Germany, to not have one facility, to have more and more. But we have to be, and we have to choose here very wisely, because as I said before, when you have a look into Sweden, for example, it showed it pretty clear if these decisions are not made wisely, they can be like a boomerang, and you can maybe deal with one bad decision, but if you're doing like more bad decisions in a row, it could be a problem. So we're
Yeah.
doing it like separately, having the first facility probably set up at the same time. Try to do the good decisions and the wise decisions like we did for the first location, and then do like a expansion in this ways. And then we try at the second time. We have some ideas. Today I cannot talk about it, but we have some ideas
Yeah.
in terms of doing within maybe this whole business this whole business environment some different businesses besides only opening the facility and being like the owner of a paddle club. We have some ideas about it.
Cool.
We also try to this is why I'm sitting here, of course, with my Padel Dudes hoodie.
Yeah, looking good.
We try to make our brand with these facilities, with some ideas, more and more public, and see, for example, how this will develop. We have our brand registered in Germany, that it's not somebody else can use the name for paddle.
Yeah.
No one else can use the pattern of this icon, for example, and this makes us pretty confident that we are here on more tracks than just only one. Then we can expand and develop for the next month and years. Having
Yeah.
in the mind, we are 1 month founded, of course. Yeah, like we have a very small part of our journey just behind us, and probably a very long part of our journey ahead us.
Right. I love how you're very good at focusing on the micro while still having that macro strategy and vision, but really keeping an eye on the details and just a step that's right ahead of you instead of going 10 steps ahead and
Not
trying to stumble.
forgetting 2 people. So of
Yeah.
course, with 2 people, you cannot do 5 things simultaneously. You always have to focus more or less on one certain thing, and then try to do with the rest of your manpower
Yeah.
to strive for the things.
Yeah. And when from all those things you need to do when you're prioritizing, what would you say is the biggest challenge that you'll have to solve in, let's say, the next 12 months or so? I can imagine there are certain tasks that just need to happen, but perhaps there are economic challenges or in terms of marketing or technical challenges. Like, what's the biggest thing that really needs a lot of attention and effort from your side to get done over the next year or so?
Yeah, I would say a big challenge is, of course, to have at the end a very, very proper automation of the whole booking and the whole connection with the courts and the door and so on. But here we have very good partners on hand, and we are very confident that we can solve this very good. There are a lot of padel halls in Germany and also in other parts of Europe, of course, Netherlands as well, which work totally by its own. I would say that's a challenge we can solve. The bigger challenge I see currently is, and it's a little bit linked to what I said before in terms of competition, to find new facilities, new regions where you have a good deal in terms of how far away is a competition, how big is a competition, how many people live there, how many people are probably in this region, are there students, are there maybe in a region where the people do not maybe have this sportive thing or so. Do we have enough customers? Yeah, this is always when you do something where you have to have customers to earn money. In this case, most businesses are like this. You have to have proper marketing. You have to have a good retention rate, that the people come back and have a good experience. But at the first steps to find something where you say there's a good foundation of building something was, and not building something was you already know that 3 streets further is already 8 courts, and it sounds
Right.
like a good idea, but it turns out very fast that it's not a good idea. I think this will be the biggest challenge for us in this certain business, and this is why we try to think also about other linked businesses, that we are maybe not so depending
Yeah.
on this, and maybe a little bit more independent on how the whole competitive situation will work out in Germany. Because currently in Germany, everyone who has some money tries to do a paddle hall. The only question is,
Right.
do they do it? Hopefully not, but do they do it as smart as we do. It turns out who will survive maybe. If they're too much, who will survive? If they're not too much, all will survive. Everyone will be happy. But this
Yeah.
we cannot foresee today.
Yeah, really interesting to hear like how there's just so many things that come into play when making these decisions and just rolling things out, even though you're just 1 month in, like you said. But it sounds like you guys have really already made a lot of things clear for yourself and figured at least a very good basis out for making this a great success. So I'm really looking forward to see how the business is going to develop. I would like to just to finish off, do a little bit of a reflection, and I was wondering if there's anything. It might be just a short time that you've been doing this, but as you said, it has been a long process leading to the decision of starting your own business. But what have you learned so far about yourself since leaving your corporate life?
Me personally, or in terms of the
Yeah, like from yourself, your own personal development.
I would say with a good foundation of Mercedes-Benz or what I've learned there, it's very good to start in new, totally unknown fields. And I learned if something really attracts you and interests you, and you put a lot of effort in it to search for solutions, to search for ideas, you can really do a lot by yourself, and you can really do and learn a lot of any part of the whole company thing. This is something I learned, but on the other hand, I definitely also learned there are some parts you better ask your experts. There are some borders. What I said before, there are some borders where you can do self-education, where you can do a lot of searching or working with AI for. But there are a lot of borders when it comes, for example, law questions, tax questions, architecture questions.
Right.
You better do not do this on your own, or try to do everything by yourself. Then sometimes you do some things twice. You do it once, you try to do it, and then you do it with an expert in the very good way. But this is something I think you have to learn, and still improving. I'm improving every day to figure out, is this something I can solve by myself? And I think it's something I can do in a proper amount of time. It also doesn't help if you need 10 hours and an expert needs 30 minutes. Then it's also a bad deal if you do it by yourself. And then to find, okay, this is something I will let it do by somebody else, because he's better educated, he's smarter, he's faster, he has a better contacts. And I think this is something, especially in the beginning of a company, because you're only like 1, 2, maybe 3, 4 people, where you have to really think also about your capacities, which will you do by yourself, and which you will outsource, for example. And this is one of the big learnings, even though we are just like 4 or 5 months really working on these projects to do the right decisions, and you're still doing decisions, and then you think, okay, I think that was not a smart decisions, hopefully not business critical, but you learn from decision to decision, from situation to a situation, from solution to solution, and to try to improve personally in terms of the company, and then be most successful as possible, of course.
Yeah, that's a very difficult balance where I mean, you don't want to, but it's good to make mistakes because you learn so much from them. But it's just a difficult balance where the mistakes are not that big that they're like just too costly for your business or really bringing you to slow down the growth or even worse than that. Imagine if we would sit down again 5 years from now, what would it take for you to look back and really say like leaving Mercedes was absolutely the right decision to make at that point?
I definitely hope that I can say it in 5 years when we're doing maybe not the next, but maybe the next after the next interview in
Yeah,
5 years
hopefully,
again.
yeah.
Of course, I hope that I will say in 5 years it was personally, and also in terms of like career development, the best decision that we developed and expanded in a way we are happy with it. Not only maybe stuck only to a very certain field of business, maybe also widened up a little bit our business. Maybe we failed the one or the other, but in some we did a very good job. And this is what I definitely hope to say in 5 years. I will definitely let you know in 5 years if this is the case. but currently we are pretty optimistic. And when I can say it at the end, I've just been to Geisingen the last weekend. We have now the keys. Everything seems to be in plan. We have a very optimistic plan for the next month. This is also what makes us optimistic, that we are successful here at the first step and be successful also afterwards. And then we'll see in 5 years. I will let you know about what worked out very well, what worked out bad.
That would be really great to look back and see where you're at that point and have that talk. Really looking forward to that. And yeah, I also want to thank you for not just sharing your experience and talking about what's happening at the moment, but I'm getting excited just hearing, what you guys are starting and the passion that you have for it and what you're putting into it, the idea that you're working on. So also thanks for sharing that enthusiasm and this sort of excitement of this stage and this phase of the business, because I think it's a very special time of like the whole timeline of starting a business, owning a business, running a business. This is just such an exciting time. It must be for you. So thank you for giving us a bit of a glimpse into that phase of your journey. And like you said, yeah, I'm looking forward to look back a few years from now, 5 years from now, or hopefully sooner, and see what the lessons are that you've learned between now and then. So thank you.
Very welcome, and also thank you very much for giving me the opportunity and reaching out to me and just asking, hey Jan, do you think this might be a fit for you? And also take your time to spend it with me and listen to me about my ideas and what it's in my head. So thank you very much for your trust, and was like the last time very nice talking to you. And we'll keep you posted via LinkedIn, via Instagram. Everyone who wants to follow our journey is very invited, of course, and we will keep everyone posted how it will develop then the next
Absolutely.
month and years.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. And for people listening or through various channels, we'll put a link to Padel Dudes and to Jan in the description so that you can look it up. And if you're in Germany, nearby one of the locations is opening soon, and you should obviously go check it out and sign up. So thanks again, Jan.
I could not have said it better. Thank you.